What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach. Give me 6 months of your time, I'll give you the best golf swing of your life. So welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, we will be talking about the right hand in more detail. However, this time, we're gonna be talking about how the right hand directly correlates to what we call the entry and exits of the club head into the golf ball, as well as the low point and low point depth. So if you're interested in better contact and controlling your curvature more, and you wanna know how the right hand's role plays in that, this is the perfect video for you, and let's go ahead and jump in. But before we get into the video, I wanna give a quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Kiwi Golf Japan. If you did not know, YouTube does not pay the bill. So if you wanna help support this channel, after the video is over, there'll be a link down below. Click on that. You can sign up for a Kiwi Platinum membership site, and you're really gonna help support our channel and get access to a bunch of videos. That out of the way, let's talk about the right hand. How does it relate into contact and curvature? Now, I know some of you guys out there watching probably don't know what I mean when I talk about low point depth and low point, as well as the entry and the exit. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time at the beginning of this video breaking that down for you. However, for you guys who already know the terminology, just skip ahead forward in the video. We'll start to talk about how the right hand correlates to that. But for you guys out there who are beginners, let's go over entry and exits first. So I'm addressing a golf ball right here, and I'm gonna be aiming out towards the distance to a target. So if you guys draw a straight line in line with this golf ball, that would be called what is the target line. So when we're talking about the entry of the club head into the golf ball, we're always gonna be referring it or having the target line as the reference point. So the club head in this case right here would be entering in from the inside of the target line. If it was over here, that'd be the outside of the target line, right? That would be the entry relative to this target line. The exit, simply put, is what is the club head doing after you hit the golf ball? So is it moving to the outside part of the target line or the inside part of the target line? So when I'm talking about entry and exits, it is really, where is this club head relative to that target line? So that's the first terminology. Second terminology is going to be low point depth and then low point. So low point, simply put, is when the club reaches its lowest point on the arc of the swing, where is it relative to the golf ball? So is it behind the golf ball? Is it at the golf ball? Is it ahead of the golf ball? That would be low point. Now when I talk about low point depth, I want you guys to imagine now that I hit this golf ball, but I'm just like a tour pro and I take that big massive divot after I hit the golf ball. Well, because I took a big divot, the bottom of the low point, right, the depth of the low point is really deep relative to the horizon or relative to the ground, right? It's below the ground because I took that big divot. Versus if I had a low point where I just sweep the golf ball off the mat, right? So didn't take that divot. That low point height, or really the depth of the low point, would be pretty much right at ground level, right? So it'd be a very shallow low point depth right there. So those are really important terminologies to understand, because when we're talking about fixing those types of issues, we're gonna be correlating the right hand to that, and you needed to learn that terminology. Let's move forward. So now, when it comes to the right hand movements, let's go over some of the basic right hand movements that we'll be talking about in this video. So we're gonna be talking about the right hand having a upper cocking motion, right? So this cocking motion right here, as well as a down cocking motion, which would be that, right? So upper cock, down cock. We're also gonna be talking about the right hand having more of this door hinge side release like this, as well as a door hinge side release like this. We'll talk about the right hand having a rotation more so on kind of the clockwise, counterclockwise fashion like that. And then also we will be talking about kind of the lateral movement of the hand path, kind of does it move on a straight line, does it move on an arcing? All of those will be kind of some of the things that we talk about when we talk about the right hand. So now that we got out of the way, let's get into the next point of the video. So now, like we just said in that last section, we have an upper cock and a down cock, and this is going to be directly correlated to low point as well as the low point depth. This is a really important point to understand. So as I start to approach the golf ball, if I get the downward cocking motion quite a lot and quite early, you can see that the bottom of the swing is way behind the golf ball, right? So it's correlated to that low point. If I were to, let's say, have the down cocking motion happen very late, so maybe something that looked like this, well, obviously the low point of the swing right there would be well ahead of the golf ball. So when it comes to controlling my tops and my duffs, this down cock and upper cock, the amount that you do with both of these is really, really directly correlated to that low point and low point depth. So that's really important to understand. So now the next one that we talked about was kind of this side-to-side door hinge release of the club head right here. So now, when I move the club head more and more this way versus more and more this way, It's not necessarily controlling the low point and the low point depth. Now, it would have definitely an indirect correlation between that, but not really directly. The more direct correlation when I move the club head in this fashion is going to be within the entry and the exits that we talked about earlier. So as you can probably guess, the more and more I get the club head to move this way around this section, the more that the entry into the golf ball is going to be from the outside part of the target line. The more and more that I get the club head to move this way or this rotation, the more and more that the entry of the club head would be on the inside part of the target line. So as you can see, this side-to-side motion has a direct correlation to the entry into the golf ball as well as the exit. All right, so now when it comes to this twist right here, when it comes to entry and exits and as well as the low point and the low point depth, this rotation by itself really has hardly any correlation to those. Now you could argue the more and more I rotate the shaft this way, typically that would make people have an entry more from the inside because it's easier to not hook the golf ball when your facing is too much this way at this point in the golf swing. So you could say maybe there's some type of indirect correlation to the entry and the exits. But for the most part, when we talk about this rotation, it's much more correlated to the curvature of the golf ball and really the starting line of the golf ball. So obviously the more and more I come this way as I approach the golf ball, the starting line is going to be way more off to the left. The more and more I go opposite, the starting line would be a little bit more and way more, actually in that case, off to the right. So again, when it comes to this, think about it, it could have an indirect correlation to the entry and exits, but it's more so correlated to the starting line of the golf ball and the curvature of the golf ball. So for this particular video, it's not as important of a rotation, but I just wanted to add it in there for more context. All right, so now when we start to go into lateral hand movement, right? So let me do that from the face-on move. Lateral hand movement with a little bit of an arcing as well. This is going to be very much affecting definitely the entry and exits, as well as it could also affect the low point and low point depth. So let me kind of explain that. So from the face-on view here, so if my hands start to move very much downwards as it approaches the golf ball from this position, that could get the overall depth of low point deeper and deeper, right? So let me show you what that would look like with the club. So if my hands went down from this position, right, that means I'm going to be hitting really, really steep down into the golf ball, which means that the club head would get lower into that ground and take a deeper divot. So basically, this movement here and here would get a low point depth that would be much deeper. If the movement of the hands from P6 was much more almost up, if anything, you could top the ball, so obviously the low point depth would be very, very shallow in that case. So definitely it does have a direct correlation, but also it does matter what you do with the upper cock and the down cock as well, relative to what that hand is doing as well. Now, not only does it have a correlation to the low point depth, if I start to move this hand more and more towards the golf ball, right? So the direction of the lateral movement is more so towards the ball. As you can see, that would get the club head entry to be more and more from the outside. Again, obviously I can move my hands out here and I can start to twist the club this way, and I could probably still get the club head from the inside, but it's gonna become more and more difficult, right? Increasingly more difficult as the hands move more and more out towards the golf ball, right? So as you can see, the lateral motion of the hands this way and this way will definitely have a correlation on the entry and exits as well. So when it comes to all of these twists and motions that we talked about, as you can see, the hands can have a massive effect, and it could be one of the most important points to understand is really the path of the hands that it should take in that section to fix certain things. Because yes, the rotations you apply to the club shaft can allow you to compensate for what the hands are doing, but if the hands get more and more out of position, you have to have crazier and crazier twists to try to make it all work, and it just becomes really difficult to time. So now that you guys understand kind of how this is all correlated, let's start to get into some common swing issues, some common swing faults, and how this information, the understanding of it, can fix those. All right, that's it for you guys on YouTube, but before you guys click off, let me give you some quick wrap-up points. So I think the major point when it comes to the right hand is really just understanding how correlated it is to the entry and exit, as well as the low point and the low point depth. So if you're struggling with curvature, if you're struggling with contact or any of that, really focusing in on the twist of the right hand as well as the hand path movement in the right hand is going to be the key to actually help you fix that as you start to approach impact. So if you guys want to watch this whole video, because we go over some simple fixes that you guys can use with that right hand, make sure to sign up for the membership site. You guys can do that by that link down below. If you guys sign up, obviously you're helping this YouTube channel, but also you guys get access to a bunch of videos, so make sure to definitely do that. If you guys want lessons from us, we have the Kiwi Coach 6-month program. Very few spots left, so if you guys want to go hit that up, definitely check that out as well. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.